Okay, part two of our review session today for Module 4, before you take the quiz, would just be to give you a few heads up that we went over in the webinar that didn't get recorded. Isn't that lovely? What I'm going to do basically is go over a couple topics I think you just need to be aware of before you take the quiz. If any of these topics are like not sounding familiar, what I would do is go back to the text, read about it, maybe practice a problem or two that you may have had in homework that is similar to the topic or one topic. Just make sure you know it, these areas before you go into the quiz. That's what I would do. And if there's any questions that you have, I won't be seeing emails all that often during the day today, but you can certainly do the email. I'll try to check in every once in a while from whatever it is I'm doing. I can't even remember what I'm doing. Actually, I think I'm doing these review sessions all day. That's what I'm doing. So that's why I'm not seeing your emails. What a great way of looking at life that way. Okay, so here we go. First thing I want to mention is that we want to know that there is a concept under budgeting called bottom-up. And I just want you to recognize that in the textbook it should be this way, and in the real world it is that this is a preferred method. It's called one. It's very popular. The management theory behind the bottom-up method of budgeting is that you go down to the rank and file, I call it the janitor level, ask the janitor, what do you need? The janitor knows best what they need to get the job done, particularly if you say to the janitor, look, I want a great job. What do you need to get a great job done? So he'll tell you. And then when it goes, the actual process is, then it goes up towards management. Management then takes a look at it, and they go like this. They go, huh? And they send it back down to have the janitor redo the budget. But the fact that it comes from the bottom up gives the budgetary process a preference, a nicety, a popularity amongst today's management procedures or styles that I see in the business world and widely recognizes it well. So it's a good method, and you should be aware of the general concept of bottom-up budgeting. Okay, I think enough said about that. Let's go to the next part. Is as we did in the first summary session, review session today, just make sure you recognize the following fact about the formula of inventory. We did the formula in the first review session, but make sure it's a very simple thing, but make sure you understand that today's beginning inventory was yesterday's what? Today's beginning inventory was yesterday's what? Yesterday's ending inventory. Simple concept, but you gotta know this. In the review session, one of the ways I described it is to think of December 31, midnight, the inventory at midnight, December 31. When you start the next day, 1/1, the next year. So let's say this is 16, and it's 1/1/17. Everyone's drinking at midnight, 12/31/16. Everyone's drunk at the beginning of 1/1/17, recovering from the drinking they did on midnight, December 31st. So nothing's changed in the inventory, unless there's some crazy guy down at the warehouse at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve, fooling around with the inventory. Nothing's changed. So the ending inventory becomes the beginning inventory, and I use this with every class, and everyone usually looks at me with starry eyes as to what the heck is he talking about. If you're a musician, it's the ending inventory and beginning inventory are enharmonic equivalents. I'll stop with any further metaphor. If you know music, you know what I'm talking about. If not, let's go further. Okay. All right. The next thing, understand cash flow budgeting. Cash flow budgeting. Make sure you understand that. What I'm getting at here is to recognize that the cash flow budget is like your checkbook. Well, maybe it's not like your checkbook because there's actual money in the cash flow budget as opposed to no money in your checkbook. But it's like your checkbook where, okay, today I have money. Tomorrow I am going to get my paycheck. So tomorrow I add money, but I also, on Tuesday, I have to pay my rent. So I have an expense. So there's the upside down face again. And this is how the formula works. Today I got $100. I add, I take away, and it's all based on cash, not net income. So don't confuse net income. We're only concerned when we do cash flow budgets. We look forward to how much money will we have 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 4 months from now. We want to look at actual cash, so don't confuse net income. It's actual cash. And the cash flow budget will indicate to us possible places in the future where we'll have not enough cash. And not enough cash may mean we want to have not just some money, but we want to have a minimal amount. And if we go below the minimal amount, that's not good. And so the minimal amount becomes our goal, to have at least that much. And so that's what a cash flow budget helps tell us when we might not be at our minimum goal. Maybe it's a minimum goal because it's the amount of money the bank requires us to have to be in compliance with a loan, or just to have no charge checking, whatever it is in our lives, whether it's personal or business, is our minimum goal to have in the bank account. And if we go below, then we're going to want to make it up. That's what the cash flow budget tells us. This is opposed to the next topic, which is the sales forecast. And the sales forecast basically is using an income statement approach oftentimes. So just make sure you know how to reflect changes in the sales forecast. If they say sales will go up by 10% and last year's sales was 100,000, just make sure you know that what we're going to do is multiply by 1.1 to get 110, and make sure you go the opposite way, that if its sales was 110, you know how to go back this way mathematically. Next topic is the flexible budget. Here I want to point out that you just need to be able to remember that if you have a budget where you got 80,000 units and you're told to make a flexible budget using 84,000, so you're going to change the budget. You're going to change it for sales pro rata. So if the budget at 80,000 units was so much per unit, and you have to figure that out. So based on the sales given in the prior year for 80,000 units, maybe it was $100,000, which means it's $80 a unit. Now you're selling 84,000 units, so it's going to be $80 a unit times 84,000. That'll be your sales. So that's pro rata. Your cost of goods sold will be pro rata because it's a variable expense. All your variable expenses will be pro rata. But what won't be pro rata, and this is the reason I'm just pointing it out, is that your fixed overhead stays the same. Hence the idea of fixed. So fixed expenses or fixed overhead, no change in your variable budget. Or your income statement for that matter. So it works whether you're doing a variable budget or an income statement budget. All right. Let me see. I think let's go one more. You might want to take a look at when our practice question we had that big problem with gallons and inventory and projected inventory at the end of a month. So take a look at that problem that we had with the ounces and the gallons, and just make sure you understand what's going on there. And what I mean there is that we figured out in that problem what needed to be purchased. You might be asked, instead of what needs to be purchased, you might just be asked to what is our targeted supplies inventory. So if you're familiar with the numbers on that problem, that'll be a help going into the quiz. Maybe that'll be your unknown. So just make sure you know what the problem's asking for. Also, it may be oversimplified to say this, but remember, and because there was an error on the quiz, just want to reiterate that the definition of standard cost is per unit. And the definition of budgeted cost is so this is one. The definition of budget cost is the standard cost times number of units, and that becomes our budgeted cost. Just pointing that out because it was an error in the practice quiz. Okay, let's hold here.